Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. It is your favorite warlock practicing necromancer. And today I want to bring to you, let's just call it a little gnosis. What does it mean to better yourself? Well, let's break this down a little bit. A lot of norms today are set upon societal norms, normalities, such as what's going on between Biden and Trump, for an example, or people are focused too much on the scandalous aspects of what's going on in Hollywood, okay, or even something that's going on in their own communities, like herd conformity. Somebody gets a hair across their ass about a book that's in a public school, but yet there's more pressing concerns that play into this. That, let's say, for an example, let's take um let's look at poisons for an example, just out of um let's just look at a particular type of poison. There's a shrub called Oriolander, okay, and you'll find this shrub all over America, mostly in the southern regions, but it is in every park, it is in every playground, it is in every school. And even if it's accidentally ingested by, say, a child, even your own pets, it brings on cardiac arrest. Wow. Okay. Now think about that for just a minute. People are so concerned about sexual orientation, self identifying natures, or even what's going on in the White House, what's going on in the latest politics or the latest sports game, drama, what the latest movie is. But yet, when you think about certain things, and I was talking with a an officer this morning about this as well, and he actually agreed. It's basically karma if you think about it. People are people, and this is why you can have a dozen different scandals out there, and they're going to be focused so much on that until something happens to grab their attention, and then all of a sudden you have a riot on your hands, and it becomes about that one topic. You look at all the natural disasters that have taken place over the last 25 to 30 years. 1998, you had the ice storm. 14 days, no power, no nothing, because of all the ice and the rain and the sleet. Took out most of New England. 2005, you had the Katrina. 2010, you have say for an example the tsunami of Japan. 2011, you had another catastrophe. Okay, 2015, 2018, hell, even in the last year alone, you had two earthquakes. Okay, one in Haiti. Okay, one that took place right in somewhere that originated somewhere around Queens and Jersey. Apparently, certain sections actually experienced that one. Okay, and then all of a sudden you have two major eruptions: the one down in Hawaii, and then the one up in the Canary Islands. Did you ever stop to wonder why all this is going on? Why storms are increasing? Why anything is going on that's considered natural disasters? And just a year or two ago, half the country was ablaze due to forest fires, and the other side was trapped in the heat dome. Wow. Okay. Now, let's let's look at this for just a minute. Like I said, you got this shrub, and you're more concerned with what your kids are reading in school. I don't know about you, but I take my son to parks. I take my son out on the trails, and I try to teach him what not to touch, what not to get into, such as identification of poison ivy and poison oak, to certain areas or certain regions of the trail that would be considered unsafe. Okay, certain designs or symbols that are found on the trails and what they represent and mean. Okay, this is called being a parent. Okay, it is about being how should I say this? It is about being responsible for your own kid, not somebody else's kid, but your kid. Okay, you are responsible for teaching your kids right from wrong, what is dangerous and what is not. Now, as the officer and I were discussing, you know, a lot of times when you're thinking about poisons, you're thinking about things that are found underneath your sink in the kitchen or in the cabinets, you know, in the bathroom, such as medicine cabinets or cleaning supplies. You're thinking, drugs, drug trade type stuff and what's going into those drugs, how they're being made. So the last thing that would be on your mind is your child's safety at a park, at a playground, or even at school because some dumbass thought, oh, let's put Oleander, which is a shrub, on site, on premises. Now you've got dozens of kids playing. Can you earnestly say that you're keeping track of all these kids and what they're putting in their mouths? I've seen some of the things my son puts in his mouth at 6 years old. I'm not impressed. But it's like, don't do that, buddy. No, that's naughty boy. Okay. But here's the thing. Now let's look at it from an occultist perspective. Okay. Let's look at it from a left hand path perspective. So the last couple of days, or I should say the last week, I haven't had my car because I struck a deer. Okay. Well, technically the deer struck me, but still came out of nowhere. And it's basically due to the fact that they redid the ditch lines about a year or two ago out in that region. So I have four things that's got to be replaced on my car, and luckily it's covered underneath the insurance. So cool. But here it is. So my son's mother and I have been sharing the same vehicle, her car. And this morning I got home and I took our dog out for a walk because she hadn't gone to the bathroom yet. And on the way back, I got called over by a couple people I haven't seen in roughly about 10 years, about 6 to 10 years. I'm well aware of who they are. I told you a story on a past video about a guy by the name of Bobby Bledsoe. Everybody around here, including Christians, know him as a scam artist, And I told you guys about how I cursed his church, how I cursed him, and he ended up being run out of town, not being able to minister here in this region, this county, I should say. Well, this is where this guy comes from. Okay, so he's like a lieutenant, if you will, and he's still running the men's home, which literally is right down the street from me. So he calls me over and he's saying, "Hey, you still live here? Do you still serve, two masters? Do you do this? Do you do that?" And it's like, you really don't know me at all. Wow, you never did. And I just sat there, well, I didn't sit there. I just stood there and I just let him run his mouth, plain and simple, because it's more about him showboating in front of all the newbies than it is about the religion. Okay. It is more about him acting all superior, thinking he's almighty when he's really not. You see, when you let somebody run their mouth, you learn more about them. You learn more about them. One of the things that I've been doing over the last couple of years is I've been doing a lot of research and a lot of reading into Stoicism. You know, I've been getting into things like Robert Greene's work, such as the 48 Laws of Power, the 50 Laws of Power, the 33 Strategies of Warfare, the Art of Seduction, self mastery and self discipline, human nature and all that stuff, especially through thanatology, anthropology, and going through history and everything. And this is one of the things that the officer and I were discussing this morning. And one of the books that I've been reading lately is The Art of War, The Black Art of War. And this one is Hannibal's 99 Truths. And it's by James W. Peterson. And the very first thing you're going to be reading in this is how to make yourself stronger and smarter. And the difference between the right hand path and the left hand path is that we choose to isolate ourselves. We choose to be alone. We choose to walk this path to learn and to study and to better ourselves. It's called self mastery. Okay. We focus more on our practices, our own lives, our own behavior, our own root workings. And for an example, I look back at the last 6, 7 years. I have over 7 essays that I've written, 4 of which have been published. I'm not out there throwing that in people's faces. Why? If people like it, cool. I know a lot of people have said that if I ever wrote a book, they would buy it. That is something I'm working towards. But I'm not going to sit there and throw it in your face. It's got nothing to do with you. So instead, I refrain from constantly putting that out there. But since the officer brought up the fact that he's an established author and the fact that he'd be willing to help me when my book is finished to actually publish it, it's like, cool. Right now I've only got about 7, 8 essays that I've written. I'm working on the 8th or 9th essay right now. And, that would be cool. He wants to read my work and he's willing to share his work so that, we can see, where each other is. That's pretty cool. But the thing is that this man is not a religious type. At least that's what he claimed. But something tells me he's more JCI inclined, which is okay. But when you sit there and you focus on yourself, you sit there and you better yourself, this is where things get interesting. The JCI is out there pushing, forcing their beliefs on you every single day. That's what this man was doing. He wanted me to go back to that church, even though I was invited once. It didn't matter what I would say. All he wanted to say that he was on the he was on the right side, he was on the victory side, he was going to win. It was about showboating. That was it. That was it. So by me standing there and just remaining silent, letting him talk, letting him show who he really is, that made more of an impact on those guys that were in the car. That made more of an impact on them because it makes them wonder, what is it about me that this man does not like? Why is he going after me in such a manner? Why is he trying so hard to get me to go to his church? Even though I said I would never go, didn't matter. He was bound and determined he was going to get me to go. My dog and I turned around and just walked off. Not a fucking word. We just walked off. And one of the questions that he asked me is, what did the devil ever do for you? What did the devil ever do to you? Or for you? Well, here it is. Working with demons, you learn about yourself. You learn about what works and what doesn't work. You learn about sorcery. You learn about witchcraft. You learn about herbalism and alchemy. You learn how to unlock things within your own mind. You learn to channel and work with spirits of a wide range. But here it is. I looked at this man's clothes. I looked at his haircut. I looked and listened to the way he handled himself. This man was sick. His voice was raspy. He looked like a bum off the street. Now, don't get me wrong, that's an insult to bums. I will tell you that right now. But that's an insult to bums everywhere that this man is associated with that. But he's driving around in a rusted out car that shouldn't even be on the street. The house down the street looks like it's about to cave in. And you want to put people in there? I'm surprised it's not condemned. And you ask me, what has the devil done for me? Well, let's see. I have a 6-year-old son. I have a home. I drive a 2016 Kia Sorento, fully loaded. I get paid $900 per client. I work part-time for a fast food joint, to which I am a shift leader, the position that I wanted and I got. I'm the primary baker, and I'm also a teacher. I'm a full-time occultist and practitioner of the arts. I'm an ordained archbishop with a doctorate of divinity. I'm currently in school going for my psychology degree because I'm going into thanatology. The psychology degree takes 2 years, 2 to 4 years, just to complete. I'm aiming for 2. So what has the devil done for me? A lot more than your God has done for you. Because I'm not living on my knees like a slave hoping that for handouts. I'm listening to this. I'm out there busting my ass, bettering myself. Constantly learning, constantly evolving. Because that's my choice. I want better than I was yesterday. I want to do better than I am today. I want to do more. I want to be more. I want to evolve. And the only way that you can do that is through taking a good, strong look at yourself. Plain and simple. You want to better yourself? Take time away from society. Best thing I ever did was walk away from social media for almost a year. I only got on to do a video here and there. I got on to Messenger to share my studies and my practices, my notes with my teachers, my elders. But that was it. I spent more time with my family, with the animals, my dog, and my 4 cats. I started applying the knowledge and the wisdom even more to my life. I started defining and redefining my altar room and the rituals that I'm performing. Next thing I know, I've got clients coming in, a lot of them, some repeats. I got others that are just sitting there inquiring, contemplating, should I go ahead and do this? I'd say yes. Look into your life. Let's bring up that tarot card deck. Let's go in and get that divination bowl, scrying mirror. Let's get that rune set out. Let's get out the talking board, the spirit board, the Ouija board. Let's get a triangle of evocation going. Let's summon an ancestor that's associated with witchcraft or that you related to personally. Let's bring them forth and find that knowledge that you're seeking. How can I help you benefit yourself? How can I benefit myself through my practices, through my knowledge, my rites and rituals that I'm doing? You see, it's about humbleism. This is something that is lost in the JCI. The dross fall into this trap, thinking, oh, he's the only way, but you can't do it on your own. So next thing you know, you're being brainwashed as a sentinel for their war, their little private war. And the world just goes on with it. And then you want to ask, what has the devil done for you? What did the devil or devils ever do for you? A lot more than your angels. A lot more than your God. Your little dead man on a pink stick. Oh, by the way, you might want to look at the 10 Commandments, because if I remember correctly, you're not supposed to worship anything in heaven, on earth, or in the earth. Second of all, you're worshiping an idol. Is not a statue of a man on a cross considered an idol? And you wonder why I don't go to church, why I want nothing to do with the JCI? I would rather work with demons. I'd rather work with the Devi. I'd rather work with the Jinn. I'd rather work with the ancestors and the spirits of the dead than to go to your church. Because at least with what I do, there's results. But that's only if you have the eyes to see, the ears to hear, and the ability to humble yourself and ask for their help, for their guidance. Even if you are it doesn't matter if you're into voodoo, Santeria, Palo Mayumbi. It doesn't matter if you're into Satanism or just plain pagan or Wiccan. You're going to find a position in a certain era of your life where it's no longer this game, this show and tell. this showboating, and it becomes a lifestyle. It becomes a way of life for you. And at that point, you're going to go, wow, I'm just going to toss this childish stuff away and I'm going to get serious about my work. I'm going to get serious about my studies. I'm going to get serious about my practices. You know what my New Year's resolution was after and my son's mother and I broke up? I would never date again. I would never get with another woman. And to this day, I've held true to that. Yes, my son's mother is still in my life. We share custody of cats and a dog. But here it is. She still comes to me for help. Me. And she's a Baptist. Wow. And yet I always have money. I always make it to fruition for whatever she needs because she's family. You want to know why I serve and work with demons? First of all, I want you to look at the very definition in a dictionary. What is the term? What is the very definition of a servant? Somebody who serves drinks, food, like a waiter, waitress, okay? A barmaid, a bard, okay? But in a religious sect, a religious perspective, it is somebody who serves the spirits. It is somebody who serves the public, especially if you are a minister. One of the greatest lines that I ever heard was lead by example. And in the military, those above you teach you what they know, and those that you rule over, you teach them. I have taken that motto and I train those underneath me at work. This is why everybody comes to me when they're needing advice. How do I make this? What do I do when this is doing this? How do I put this into a computer? Wow. Knowledge is power, and true power is undefiled wisdom. Anton LaVey. Amazing, right? So again, it comes down to self-mastery, self-improvement, self-evolution. You and you alone are the only one who can discern for yourselves. Are you going to rise like the phoenix from its own ashes? Or are you going to continue to sit there and beg for scraps? The second part of this, bettering yourself, is we're only here for a short time. One of the greatest things that was spoken to me by an elder was think of it as a marathon, not a race. Okay? Think of it as a marathon, not a race. When you're in a race, you're seeing how fast you can get there. You're not learning anything. You're not growing. You're not maturing. You're just got that eye on the end goal and you're just going for it. You're just going for it. But that one story, that one child story of the hare and the tortoise, remind me who won that race? I believe it was the tortoise. The hare was so cocky, so arrogant, so bold. Thought he was fast. He could just take a nap. and he'd still have time to cross that finish line. What happened? He woke up from his nap, and that tortoise is right at the end, about to cross that finish line. So when I say, think of your journey as a marathon, it's about learning as much as you can. Never stop, always grow, always do more, aim for more. You can sit there and go to a demon and say, hey, you know, I'm trying to go for this position. Okay? I'm trying to go for this position, and I'm petitioning you to open these doors. If there's anything I could do for you in return, feel free to ask. Speak up. I'll do it. It's that equal workmanship. It's a team. You can work with a handful of demons, a hand, you know, full of spirits of a particular breed, if you will, or topic. Let's say necromancy. You got one that will teach you how to communicate with spirits. You got another one that teaches you the rituals and the rites to summon them. And you got another one that shows you the path of mediumship. And yes, I'm talking about Bifron. I'm talking about Murmur. I'm talking about Seer. 3 different ranked beings out of the Goetic, the Goetia. Okay? That's just an example. But what if you wanted to do alchemy? What if you wanted to work with creating phylacteries such as relics, such as talismans and amulets? Where would you begin with your study and research? Would you say, hey, what do you know about this stuff? Okay, that's like this much knowledge, right? But what would happen if you applied your own ambition and you say, okay, Google, what is an amulet? What is a talisman? What is a holy relic? What is a totem? Hmm. Imagine all the offshoots of links that go along with just one of those topics. And this is worldwide. But both the talisman and the amulet are made for protection. Hmm. Imagine what you can learn by doing the work yourself. You're better off learning for yourself. You can sit there and go to that altar in the JCI day in and day out. And I'm going to tell this story one more time. When I became a minister and I was studying to become a minister underneath another minister, I watched for 6 months this one family for 6 months, day in and day out, about numerous times throughout the day, would go in, go to that altar and just start praying, crying, weeping. I'm talking full grown adults. But in the end, it wasn't God who opened that door. It wasn't Jesus who opened that fucking door. No. It was the minister of that church picking up a phone and saying, hey, I have a patron, you know, from my congregation here looking for this. Oh, okay. Well, here it is at a fraction of the cost. Bam. They got a boiler. Bam. Their trailer was sold. Bam. They ended up moving to a whole nother state after 6 months, showing their complete dedication and fealty going to that altar. Left hand path, you get the designs, you get the geometric shapes, you get the herbs, you get the items that you need, and it opens up. The complete atmosphere changes. and overnight something occurs. I had a voodoo practitioner from Ghana. He has dual citizenship between Nigeria, America, and Ghana. Okay, we got this we got this new coffee maker through Folgers, the company, and I'm used to taking these things apart over at Dunkin'. You know, so here I am at Winterberry, and I take it apart, and the chef is freaking out. He's just obsessed over it. And I mean, he's hitting the counter. He's doing a lot of stuff, and I mean, all these parts are bouncing all over the fucking place, hitting the floor. Luckily, none of them hit the drain, so it was all cool. You got dishes up there, you got all this stuff, and of course, this pot is so freaking thick with coffee grinds that nothing's pouring out. So you have to take it apart, and you have to, clean it. Now, who better than somebody that actually has experience doing this stuff? But yet, instead of listening, you're constantly coming over being a distraction. You're constantly coming over and you're pounding on that counter, and all the devices could get lost. One piece actually did go missing. I went home, did that one ritual, called forth the seekers, basically. Called forth the seekers, the sirens. And guess what? The following day, that piece was found. It was put back in, and everything worked fine. And you know what this man said to me? He said, "Your magic works. Your magic works." And you know why? Because I believe. That's all it is. I believe. I have faith in the sorcery. I have faith in the spirits that I work with because they've never lied to me. They've never let me down. But yet, you want to spend 6 months just being on your knees. Of course, you're not going to get anything done. Now, think about that job that you want. Who is it that goes out and fills out that application? Who is it the one that keeps calling daily saying, "Hey, my name is so and so. I've applied to your store, your restaurant, or your business for this particular position." Is it God? Is it Jesus? Is it an angel? No. That was you, right? So why would you not put the work forth? Would you rather serve on your knees as a slave to a system? Or do you want to be a man, grow a pair, and do the work yourself? And if you're a woman, put your ovaries back in and get the fuck out there and do the work. You know, nothing in this world comes free. You have to work your ass off to get it. I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for those that have been there for me. I'm talking my elders, I'm talking about the spirits, the demons. I wouldn't be where I'm at if it wasn't for these people, for these beings, these entities. Hell, I even went to Frank White once over one topic, and he was there and said, "Hey, look into this." I had spent a year and a half looking into this one particular region for things on necromancy. It never occurred to me to look into the priesthood. And because of that, I have a whole list. I have a whole essay just written about the Shem priesthood and how it's associated with the Hashishin. Amazing. First, second, third dynasty of Egypt. Wow. Think about that for just a moment. I want you to earnestly think about this. If you don't do the work, how will you learn? How will you grow? How will you better your own life? One of the things that always sat with me was this. A lot of people get into occultism or they get an animal and they don't do their research because they think it's cool. They want to be a part of something. But when it comes time for show and tell, they've dropped the ball. Why? It's because they failed themselves. They failed themselves. They failed to do the research. They failed to apply it to their life. They failed to experiment with it. And they failed across the board. You got to put the time in. You got to be committed, dedicated, have complete fealty with it. I can't tell you how many hours that it takes just to do one simple ritual. I've done for one client daily, nightly rituals for wealth, for doors to open, for destruction rites to take place. And you know what? That's taken place over 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Do you think that's something you can just go in and speak a mantra and go, oh, poof, goes the Puff the Magic Dragon? It's done. No, son, it's not done. A lot of time and energy has to go into those rites. You have to put the time in to gather the right materials. You have to put the time in to cleanse the temple and prepare the temple for those rituals. You have to go out and seek out all these items. And then you have to get everything put together and pick a day and a time to begin that rite and that ritual. Not mentioning the time and effort that it will take to actually charge that rite and that ritual over 2 to 3 weeks. Just doing a Dybbuk box, for an example, takes about a week. It's 7 days. That's burning candles, charging it, chanting it, and making it into a relic, a dark relic, to hold an enemy, a target, a victim, or a malicious spirit. Going with a cursing jar, a sweetened jar, as they refer to it in today's hoodooism. You're going to put seals. What is that? What is the purpose of that jar? Is it for money, monetary things? Is it for destruction? Is it for compassion rites, lust rites? What symbols are you going to be putting on them? What spirit are you going to be utilizing for that item? What is the overall purpose of that? How are you going to charge it? Are you going to cleanse it with, say, white sage? Are you going to use the incense smoke itself from an incense stick of, say, dragon's blood or myrrh, lavender, whatever? Are you going to be putting a candlestick up in the mouth of that and letting the inside heat up? Are you going to wash your hands before the ritual? Are you going to cleanse your mouth so that what you speak is pure? Are you going to follow the proper protocols for those particular rites before you even begin doing them? Are you going to meditate on the intent of what you're doing or about to do? You see, this is not something that you do that's cut and dry right up front. It takes time. It takes 2 to 3 weeks. I think the longest ritual I ever did was 2 years. And you remember that minister I told you about that was associated with this douchebag down the road? He's had 2 churches closed. He's been called out by the city. His wife and child left him. 2 years. And that's after he put 1.5 million into that church, into that sanctuary. His backers pulled out. literally left him standing there with his dick in his hands, unable to do a damn thing. 2 years dedicated to cursing him and and that church. That church became condemned, unfit for human habitation. He moved a quarter mile up the road. That one was closed down. His wife divorced him, took their newborn daughter. Oof. Last time I saw him, he was literally doing ministry out of his own car. I'm talking full on beard, disheveled, looked like he'd gone through a cheese grater. And yet you sit there and you want to pray for people, you want to do this, you want to do that. Well, guess what? Now you have nothing. And it proves to me that your God is weak, that he doesn't even exist. But those demons do. They're strong. They're great guardians. They're great teachers. They're great instructors. I don't know about you, but I'd rather go with what's real, what's been proven for hundreds of thousands of years. Perhaps that's why the Tetragrammaton, why the Dross, why the JCI have feared the left-hand path. Because we better ourselves. We don't swarm cultures. We don't destroy countries. We isolate ourselves to better ourselves. Even if we're in a coven, it's about that coven's strength and betterment, that evolution. It's the overall health of that coven. Each individual is gaining knowledge, gaining wisdom, gaining power. And you have to wait on a minister to make that one phone call. Oof. Yeah. This is why I serve the left-hand path. This is why I serve the demons. I work with demons. I work with spirits. I work with various different entities from different systems. It's a lifestyle for me. This is my life. This is the path that I've chosen. It was something that was introduced to me at a young age, yes. But it was my choice to make the deals, to make the pacts, to do the work. And you know what? I'm better off today than I was, say, 6 years ago. I'm better off than I was 25 years ago. Because I listen, because I see, because I learn. I've humbled myself to the point where I can, when I'm calling on a spirit, I offer my services in exchange for their help. I offer myself as an apprentice to them, to learn from them. Every teacher is an apprentice, and every apprentice is a teacher. That door is like one of those saloon doors from the 18th century, or one of those old Western shows. It goes both ways. People forget that. The greatest vileness that is out there is religion. So once you get there, it's no longer about the spirits. It's no longer about the work. It becomes about identity. It becomes about segregation. It becomes about subdivisions. Look at the TST. Look at the Church of Satan today. Look at most of the religious prospects you have today, it's all corrupted because mankind always corrupts. That's why when you do your own work, you cannot be lied to. You cannot be fooled because you've done the work, you put the time in. You know the truth. More so, and I'm going to say this again, more so, when you put the time and effort in to yourself, to better yourself, your knowledge, your wisdom, your spirituality, you even make an identity for yourself. You put a lifestyle together. And as you grow and advance, you realize all the things that you used to be a part of don't matter. So when I get one of these yahoos sitting there preaching, one of them even got out of the car and said, "Hey, can I pray for you?" I said, "No, I don't want your prayers, nor do I need them." When I get one of these douchebags like this, I'd rather just let them talk. Stand there like Reacher, for an example, the TV show Reacher. That new TV series where he just stands there and glares at the guy, just looks at the guy. And the guy basically wets himself and becomes a beta. But in this case, it's not about that. It's about letting him let him let his ego run wild. Let his pride run wild. He's showing the world exactly who he is. Me, I could care less. I have no need to be around people. Even my son's mother has said this. I'm at that age in my, right now that I don't need to be out around people. I have no room. Well, let me put it to you this way. I got a cup of coffee here, so I'm trying not to spill it. I want you to read this. No time for your bullshit. No time for your bullshit. Best cup that was ever given to me by a friend who is now dead. But here's the thing. I get paid to care. I get paid to care. That's what I tell people. When I'm on the clock, I'm being paid to care about your just whatever your little neediness is. But when I'm off the clock, it's about me. I like my solitude. I like my quietness. I like sitting in a semi dark room with a candle going, reading a book from my private library. I like being out on bike trails. I like being out on the trails. I like being out in the woods away from people. I'm out there with a pup, 15-month-old dog. She and I have a lot in common. And you know what? How many people can say that they've had a snake come up to them and just look you in the eye as though you're communicating? I was less than 2 feet earlier today from two chickadees. Opal was with me. She just stood there, just looked like, wow, what is this? And I'm just sitting there watching these two birds because I had taken her out for a walk. How many people can say that they've gotten that close to wild animals? Become one with nature through spirituality. How many people can say that? How many people can sit there and go, you go to your nightclub, I'm going to stay home? One of the greatest jokes that was told by a comedian was, You know you're too old for nightclubs when you go there and it's like, is this music too loud? Is my hair vibrating? Oh, come on, Opal. You know that's funny. She just looked at me like, what the fuck? Oh, shit. But yeah, bettering yourself is so much more fruitful than being a part of society. It's a lot better than being a part of a fad or whatever the hell the latest fads are. I think the latest fad is these women that think that, just to be around them, and this is something that's come my way by numerous people, is they want you to pay for their gas to come to them. They want you to pay their way. Oh, by the way, I charge. And it's like, I don't know about you, but wasn't that used to be called prostitution? They just simply moved from the street corner onto online. And the cops are still, being cops. But, maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm just too old school. I don't know. But yeah, educate. I don't relate to people because I have intelligence. I have my own opinions and I have knowledge of things that nobody really gives a shit about anymore. People are more about what the latest style is, what's the latest drama or the latest gossip is. And it's like, who gives a shit? Pick up a book and read. Get off the fucking TV. One of the things that my mother and I were talking about earlier, yesterday, we were talking about my son's homework. He's 6 years old, and we were talking about this. I mean, when you have three different generations, you have my mother's, my son's grandfather's, and then mine. Okay, and then you have the teachers on top of that. They don't have a fucking clue how to do this math, anyways. So it's like common sense in this case would be don't fucking teach this shit to 6-year-olds. You think common sense, you got a first grader. Why are you teaching them algebra? Why are you teaching them algebra? Shouldn't you be focusing more on adding and subtracting, especially in first grade? Second grade, get into division, long division. Third grade, get into multiplication, fractions even. Fourth grade, fractions, and so forth. Work them up to algebra. And second of all, why the fuck would you put a division problem in a box, in a square box, or in a rectangle for that matter? You're just making it 10 times harder when you could easily do it the old fashioned way. One of the things that I teach my son within math class, use your fingers. All right, you got 8. How many numbers is it between 8 and 10? Hey, sweetie. What's up? What's up, my girl? Oh, okay. She's telling me she's got to go out. Or she just wants attention. I'm not sure because now she's laying down licking my hand. But you see the point. It comes down to logic. It comes down to knowledge. It comes down to intelligence. This is something that America no longer has. You go back to the 30s, 1930s. They had common sense. Today it's more about dominance. There's no balance. There's no nothing there. Hey, sweet girl. What? What? Arr. Arr. No, get your paw off the computer. No, no. I'll boop the snoop. Boop the snoop. Boop the snoop. So, Oh yeah. So, anyways, better yourself. Who gives a shit about what other people are doing? Let them do what they do. You worry about you, your immediate family, your immediate practices, and say fuck you to everything else. And I guarantee it, the more you learn, the more you study, the better off you're going to be, especially when you start applying it to your life. All right? So I'm going to go take this little girl out for a long walk down the trails. All right? Yes, I'm going to do that for you. Yes, I'm the good dad. What can I say? All right. I want to thank the Black Tower for jumping on here with me. Yes, I did see you pop in here a couple of times. I do want to acknowledge you, brother. It's good seeing you on here. Glad you were able to jump on here with me. For those of you who are coming on, who have liked this video, I want to say thank you. For those of you who are coming on after this, feel free to click the notification button and subscribe if you so wish to. That's your choice to do so or not. I live my life by two creeds, and I always try to put those out there for you guys. Is number one, whatever you preach, always back it up with numerous sources. And number two, always make yourself available to the public because you are responsible for the things that you do and say. All right? You cannot eat my hand. You just want to go get a twig. That's what it is. She likes picking things up on our walks, like twigs and sticks and whatever trash she finds. And she's a pup. What do you expect? You gotta fall off the couch. You know that, right? Get your butt back over here before you hurt yourself. Oh, really? Wow. You're getting mouthy now. How about a Dougie Noogie? So, anyways, like I said, follow those two creeds and just be you. Okay? Just do you. Be you. Study, practice, evolve. Raise yourself above the dross. And I guarantee it in the long run, you're going to have a lifestyle with a working formula that's going to benefit you. Okay? Who cares who's coming at you and running their mouth? Who cares who is running for president or who's bashing whom? I don't give a shit about that stuff. Just be you. Do you. All right? With that said, have a good day. Have a good evening wherever you are in the world. And until next time, I'm out.